Okay, today we are going to show you the Meanwell LRS-600 power supply. This is a new AC to DC 600 watt industrial power supply, and it's one of the latest additions to Meanwell's LRS family of power supplies, which has been a super successful family for Meanwell. We've sold hundreds of thousands of models of the LRS family, and this one will be a next bestseller. This particular power supply is enclosed in the chassis, and it has a built-in cooling fan. Now this power supply for 600 watts is pretty low profile at only 41 millimeters. Now the price point for this power supply is absolutely amazing when you look at the performance. This is a really reliable power supply and the price point is super competitive. Now this power supply accepts AC input range in two ranges. It's user selectable by a switch, and those two ranges are 90 to 132 volts AC and 180 to 264 volts AC. Now this is preset to the higher range, which is 230 volts nominal, and you can look right here, this is where the switch is. Now the reason it's preset to 230 volts AC is that if you were to accidentally connect 115 volts AC, you can't damage the power supply. However, if you set it to 115 volts AC and connected 230 volts AC, you would damage the power supply. So selecting the switch is pretty simple. You simply have a little screwdriver here and you gently switch it over, and now you have the right input range. The LRS-600 offers 7 different models with DC output voltages ranging from 5 volts DC up to 48 volt DC. Now we're showing you here all the different models, and of course all the popular output voltages are offered, and they are also in stock and ready to ship to you from TRC Electronics right now. Now both the AC input and DC output connections are made on screw terminal block, and we're showing you here the screw terminal block, and it's also labeled on the power supply which connections are made to which screws, and you also can reference the data sheet because the data sheet will completely illustrate the connections that are made to this power supply. Now, as I mentioned earlier, the power supply has a built-in cooling fan, and this built-in cooling fan has on-off control. And the benefit of this is that it's going to extend the life of the power supply because the fan is usually one of the first things to fail on a power supply that has a fan, and the fan won't be operating when it's unnecessary. The operating temperature range for this particular power supply is -20 to +65 degrees Celsius. Now we're going to show you here the actual derating curve, because the 5 volt model begins derating at 40 degrees Celsius, and then the other models begin derating at 45 degrees Celsius. Now, most power supplies, almost all power supplies, have some derating at the higher temperature range. So this graph shows and illustrates for you where you start derating the power supply and you don't get the full 600 watts. Very important to always pay attention to what that derating is at higher operating temperatures, especially if you're going to be operating in that temperature range. Now this power supply, of course, is UL 62368-1 certified, and so this allows you to go through safety certifications for your system without any obstacles. The mechanical dimensions of this power supply are really nice. We have a 225 millimeter length, and it's 124 millimeters in width. And as I mentioned earlier, the height is only 41 millimeters. So at 600 watts, you have a pretty compact power supply. Power supply also comes with an LED indicator for power on, which allows you to have a visual indication that the power supply is actually on, and we illustrate that here for you right now. The built-in power supply protections include short circuit, overload, over voltage, and over temperature protections. Now this power supply can be used in a number of applications, such as industrial automation equipment, instrumentation, and control systems. So now this LRS-600 is the next generation of the SE600 series. SE600 is a 600 watt power supply that Meanwell's had for a number of years, and it's been super successful. If you're using the SE600, you want to take a look at this, because this is ultimately going to replace the SE600. Sooner you start looking at this, the sooner you start benefit from the reduced cost that this power supply is going to offer, and the lifespan of this power supply is obviously going to be much longer than the SE600. Finally, this power supply comes with a manufacturer's 3-year warranty, so Meanwell's supporting this power supply with a 3-year warranty. There you have it. This is Meanwell's LRS-600. This is going to be a top seller here at TRC Electronics. If you need any more information, you can visit our website or call our office today. We'll get you all the information that you need.